Hi everyone, in this video tutorial I'd like to take you through some of the logistical aspects connected with if you are running an advert in South Africa and you want to be able to start to grow a team. So firstly, this video is simply to be retained within our team. It's not to be shared outside of our group. It's also, at the time of recording it, it's based on my best understanding of the practices that can help us to navigate through what can be a little bit of a tricky procedure, but certainly very, very worthwhile. So let me just start by taking you through the information as follows. So South Africa is known as what's called a global access country. And simply put, that means that doTERRA is not yet fully open. It's not an open market. And that means that doTERRA do not do direct delivery to South Africa. Okay, so why is it that people want to target South Africa? Well, really, I guess it's pretty much the same with any new country that doTERRA launches into. There's a huge excitement, there's an anticipation, and people want to be able to get involved because they've been waiting to have access to the finest oils in the world. And of course, as we launch into a new country, that means there's lots of opportunity. Okay, so South Africa is no different to any other country that we launch into. So, but there is some additional commitment required, and I'm going to do my best to take you through this information. It's certainly not the same as registering somebody in an open market. Okay, so the three main logistical issues that we need to draw to your attention. Number one is that doTERRA will not do a direct delivery, which means that can be a little bit of an issue, because how does the new member in the country receive their goods? That's the first thing. The second thing is that there will be duty that will need to be charged on any import into the country. So there's two additional costs straight away. And anyone who is registered in a global access country, or we have found a way to be able to kind of navigate around a little bit, as I'll come on to in just a second, it means that they can't actually access their commissions in terms of liquidate any cash commissions by having it transferred into a bank account. Okay, so this wouldn't be available until the company has launched fully in that country, in which case then there will be no additional delivery, there will be no customs, and the earnings and then access to the earnings will be as it is for everyone else. Okay, so there's a few things there. Now, you would imagine that some of these logistics would potentially be a barrier to somebody wanting to get started with doTERRA. And clearly, you know, you can understand why that would be. However, clearly, it's all about the way that the information is presented. And of course, it's also down to their excitement and enthusiasm based on what they see in terms of the offering. Okay, so a little bit more about that. So I tend to simply present the business in the same way. So, you know, people are replying to our adverts. We basically give them basic information. We invite them to come on to one of our classes, okay, and then after the class, you know, we would follow up as usual, ideally through Zoom, and we would chat to people about the logistics of, you know, South Africa after we've identified, you know, that they are really interested, they want to go ahead, you know, which kit were you thinking about wanting to get started with? And I'm a little bit more relaxed on the kit, because with the additional considerations, it really isn't about saying we recommend the Home Essentials kit and that's the kit that you really need to get started on, because these additional logistics really do add additional expense. And I really think it's about presenting the offering and allowing people and their own excitement and their own, you know, taking into account their own financial situation to be able to select, you know, what it is that they want. But most definitely, I would always look to recommend the Home Essentials kit. And if that is obviously beyond someone's budget, taking into account the other logistics, then, you know, we would look to introduce the Family Essentials kit. Okay. Now you'll see in red, if you can see really quite small there, that we've drawn to the attention the approximate South African rand equivalent based on me talking to sterling. Okay. So the exchange is not great. It actually works out more expensive pound for pound, if you like. Someone actually, you know, purchasing, you know, one of our kits in South Africa, you know, because of the economy, and that has to be taken into consideration, not so much by you, but certainly by the person that you're offering it to. So I'm going to go on to the logistics in just a moment, but let's just presume that we're now ready to get somebody registered. Okay, so we found a way as a team to be able to roll with this, if you like, a way of being able to deal with the logistics. And it starts really by the way that we register them, okay? So this is, in this example, a UK registration. So it's just as if I was registering someone in the UK, okay? It may well work exactly the same if you're in a different country and you would register them in the country where you are living in, okay? But I don't have any experience with that, so I can only speak with any kind of conviction about the UK registration, okay? So when we're filling in their personal details, we're going to put their South African address in. So even though it's a UK registration, we're going to be putting in their South African address. But you'll notice where the blue arrow is, it's actually a little bit out of sync. It should be in line with province. We still would select London, okay, even though we're putting in their South African address. Remember, this is just a way that we're finding to work around the process, okay? So we would select London in there. Okay, but when we do go live, each member will then send a request, direct to doTERRA and actually have this changed over onto a South African account, if you like, because this is still a UK account, even though it's got a South African address in, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's really, really important. Now, on the right, you'll notice where it has the shipping address. This is where really the only way that we can easily get around the fact that doTERRA do not do a direct dispatch to South Africa is it would need to come to the person who's enrolling them, let's say, in the UK. So in this example, it's me enrolling someone. So on the right-hand side, you'll notice in the address, I've actually got their care of, and I've got my name, and then I go into my address. So that's my address that I would put there. So you need to make sure that the little tick box is unchecked, because that would mean that the delivery address is the same as the mailing address, and that is incorrect, okay? So it's my address or your address if you're doing this, obviously down the side. That means the product is going to get delivered directly to you, and that then gives you the opportunity then to do what it is that I'm going to explain next, okay? But as we almost still with the registration, as it gets to the payment section, okay, this is where we need to make sure that the address that you're putting in as the billing address, okay, is registered to the card that you are using to make the payment, okay? You still have to put in UK province London, even though, again, you're putting in the South African address, as you can see there, because it's like a little bit of a drop-down menu. The other thing, of course, is if you look on the right-hand side, it's actually got reference to payment type, and it says credit card. Now, this is credit card, debit card. It really makes no difference whatsoever. So ideally, they would actually have a debit or a credit card, because that way it would process it instantly at the time of the registration, which is ideally what you want, okay? However, if they do not have a credit or a debit card, then they can click on that little drop down on the payment tab, and it will actually bring up Wire, okay, W-I-R-E, Wire. And basically that means that doTERRA will send an email directly to them, and it will give them doTERRA's payment details so that they can make a transfer, okay? Now, sometimes this can be slightly problematic, and the reason being is because the bank who's making an international payment, i.e. the new members bank that's wanting to make the international payment to doTERRA, sometimes the bank may require an invoice, okay? So the registration process would have been completed anyway. The invoice can be accessed later, and you can do that really by the new person or you logging into their account, going into previous orders, and whilst the process will not be on its way through the delivery system, because of course the payment hasn't been made yet, the invoice will be there. And the invoice can be accessed to then send on to the South African bank, which would in turn then be happy to make the payment, okay? Well, in reality, it actually will, it either goes to doTERRA or it actually goes to the South African bank. I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, matters not. The process is the same. Whoever asks for the invoice, you give them it, okay? So in most cases, it's much easier if they've got a debit or a credit card that they can use, okay? So that's really important. But on the address for the billing, you'll notice that when you do click on the region, as opposed to the province, which has to be still put in as London, on the region, it does actually have South Africa on the drop-down menu, okay? So that's what we would do there. So swiftly moving on, let's talk a little bit about the logistics, if you like, of whilst we are in pre-launch, so to speak. Now, at the time of recording this video, we don't know the exact date, that there will be a launch. And they don't give the exact date in advance. Okay, they generalize because they don't want to overpromise and under-deliver. They do say that they will give 30 days notice, okay? And it has been suggested that it will be in South African winter. And, that means in reality, it could be, based on here in the UK, that could be August, it could even start to go into September. We don't know, but we proceed anywhere with the same level of excitement and enthusiasm, because the opportunity that exists is, of course, many people are waiting and holding back, okay, until we launch because of these logistics, and other people are getting ahead of the game, okay, and it really is that simple. So we need to be able to easily and effectively have the delivery of the product which is being sent to you, the kit that's come to you. We have to be able to have that to then be sent to them in South Africa. And we do have a courier service that you can access from here in the UK that actually does that very, very efficiently. In fact, they can get it to South Africa normally within about 3 to 5 days from leaving the UK, i.e. your home address, okay? And part of the service is DHL to actually ultimately deliver it to its final destination, okay? And then, of course, we've got the import tax, which is required to be paid as well. So you can see that these are things that definitely don't sweeten the proposition, but I'm going to give you the logistics of what they are exactly, so that you can factor this in when you're explaining it to your potential South African member. So the first thing is that the delivery charges on the Home Essentials kit or the Family Essentials kit work out approximately the same. And the reason for that is because the delivery charge is based on volume and not necessarily weight. And because these items are really quite small, it fits into a band. So whether you're sending, a Family Essentials kit, a Home Essentials kit, or even a little trio of oils, it's working out approximately the same, okay? Now that's typically coming in at about £37.70. Then there's an additional $6.95 that they will add on for the collection, which is for them to come to your home to pick it up. Okay, and depending upon if the value is over £50, they offer you an extra £5 to be able to increase the insurance. Okay, so and the insurance only covers you if it gets lost, not if it gets damaged, because with it being little glass bottles, they don't cover that. They only cover it if it goes missing. Okay, now up until this point, to the best of my knowledge, none have gone missing. Okay, so when you add all of that up, it actually comes in at about £49.65. Okay, so that's giving you a little bit of an idea of where it's sat at. So it's going to give you a good idea, really, without irrespective of whether it's a Family Essentials kit or a Home Essentials kit or even a trio, it's going to be around about that number. Okay. So just to give them a little bit of an idea as to how much that actually translates to in the rand, which is the South African currency, is I'm working on about 18.2. Okay, so £1 is, if you like, is 18.2 rand. Okay, so to speak. So that 49.65 is approximately 900 rand. Okay, so this is how I work out approximately what it's going to be. Now, the customs, the duty that's required to be paid when the product, arrives into South Africa. Now, it's around about 20%, okay? So again, that can give you a little bit of an idea. If you work out the value of the kit and you multiply that by 20%, you'll get a rough idea as to how much extra that's going to provide in terms of duty, okay? And I have to stress, it's approximate, okay? It would appear that the South African customs are a little bit of a law unto themselves, okay? I have known some people to be charged 25% and some people to be charged 30%, and lots of examples of it, again, exactly as we understand it to be, which is 20%. Okay, so this can be a little bit of an issue. So we're advising people it's 20%, but it's just approximate. Okay, and that's really, really important. Now, one of the things that we have been doing is we've been declaring the value of the goods being a little bit less. Okay, and that's to help to keep the cost down, you know, for our South African team member. Okay, now I personally work on reducing it by about 20%, which is kind of taking off the VAT element, if you like, here in the UK. So I'm reducing it by 20%. So a 243 pound home essentials kit, it's kind of bringing that down to around about £200. Okay, so this means that the duty owed will be approximately 700 rand. Okay, again, I can't stress enough, just approximately 700 rand. Okay, now the other thing that we need to just take into account is that earnings are not accessible to withdraw. So let's say they have some commissions that they're entitled to, they can't withdraw those yet, because you can't be registered in one country and have a bank account in another country. Okay, so you wouldn't be able to withdraw. They wouldn't be able to withdraw their funds until we go live, and then once the account's transferred over to a South African account, okay, then everything will be tickety-boo. Okay, but they can use their earnings to fund the LRP order, which of course is also very, very important. A bit more about that later. Okay, so why would people go to these lengths, okay, to get started with doTERRA? Why would they, you know, look at having these additional charges, which is certainly, you know, adding and bumping up the investment total for them getting involved? And the answer is really, really simple, okay, because they want to get ahead of the curve. So what is the curve? Well, you have to communicate that to them, okay, and that's why it's really, really important, you know, and I'm very passionate when I communicate this with people, and I turn around and say that, you know, that the interest in South Africa is absolutely unbelievable. People are hugely excited. I also turn around and say that, you know, it's been a long time coming for us to launch into South Africa because our oils are the purest in the world. And people know this. They are literally queuing up and they want to get our oils, okay? So people are wanting to, when people want something, when do they want it? They want it now, okay? So I'm kind of communicating this to people. And of course, I'm also, you know, making them aware that there is a very exciting opportunity to work with us. Now, for example, in the South African economy at the moment, it's not fantastic, okay? And there's a lot of quality people out there who are looking for ways to supplement their income. And obviously there's a great interest in, you know, holistic health in South Africa. Okay, it's almost cultural, is my understanding. Okay, so, you know, you put the two together, and you've got a higher caliber of people, most definitely interested, you know, in looking at doTERRA as a business opportunity. Okay, so of course we are communicating that, you know, the opportunity that we have now as a team is that we've found a way to be able to work around some of these logistics as best we can, so that they can get started and we can help them to start growing their team in advance of it becoming a free market. Now, once it becomes a free market, everyone will start targeting it, okay? It's exactly the same with every country that doTERRA go into. You know, there's no one in this team owns South Africa or owns Italy or owns America, understand? Okay, it's a free market. That means everybody and anybody, you know, is entitled to be able to, you know, to promote the opportunity in these countries. And that's why, you know, doTERRA also introduced something that's called the Founders Club, okay, which is a country founder. And that's really to encourage people to want to grow the market, you know, in its early days of either pre-launch or, you know, when it does go live, and deal with the logistical issues, the challenges of launching into a new country when everything is not perfect, you know, to be able to help and encourage some people to be the pioneers. Because the opportunity that exists is there's typically about 15 positions that is normally made available. It could be anywhere from qualifying at a rank of either gold, it might be platinum, it could be diamond. There are, you know, there are reasons why they will set it at a particular level, sometimes the size of the country, etc. Or maybe it's how active it's been in pre-launch, I don't know. But the point being, they normally have 15 positions, and people who reach that level, okay, and then there is a criteria to maintain that for a certain period of time, they can qualify as a country founder. Now, what's special about Country Founder is that the company takes 1% of the profits that come out of the country, and they divide that among the 15 people, and they get a percentage. So they get a payment every year for life from what comes out of the country. Now, this can become worth a staggering amount of money. It's almost like getting a pension, redeemed every single year. It's a huge opportunity. And this is what is available in every country that doTERRA launch into. So I make sure that I communicate this, and I'll say to people, look, I don't know whether this interests you or not, but you really do need to be aware of it, okay? And I do communicate that. So wrapping all of this up, I'm saying to people, this is why people want to, get ahead of the game. They want to get in now. They want to get the oils now. They want to use the oils. They want to get the benefits of the oils. They want to be able to, start reaching out and sharing the gift of doTERRA with other people. And what I am mentioning to people is that there's such a huge level of interest right now. There will be people that they know, family, friends, colleagues, who will be seeing the presence of doTERRA through social media, or someone else will be mentioning about doTERRA. And we want to make sure that these people are joining, them and not somebody else, okay? So again, it's almost creating a little bit of a sense of urgency. There's also potentially a little bit of fear of loss, okay, although that's not what my intention is, but this is what people tend to experience, okay? And we talk about how, doTERRA is this incredible organization, and it really is a global movement, and it provides an opportunity of a lifetime. So I say to people, this is what we're offering, and this is why people are stepping forward. So yeah, I've gone into a little bit more detail. I probably labored this slightly, but the point being is this makes a huge difference to what happens next, because people will process this information, okay, and it can be the determining factor as to what they decide to do next, okay? So communicate the opportunity with passion, okay, and why people are proceeding now anyway, even though we haven't launched, okay? So one of the things I do, which is really important, is, and I really suggest you do the same, I help the prospect to calculate the total investment that will be required in order for them, to be able to step forward with us, okay? So it isn't just about talking about the kit, it's also about making them aware, of the logistics, the delivery, and also the duty, okay? And if they really want to share the opportunity with others and they want to build an income, it is about them also being aware of the 100 LRP requirement, okay? So let's just press on. So I help them to find an affordable option, and this is not something to be pushy about. Certainly, in my opinion, it's about giving them the logistics, and it's about obviously sharing the enthusiasm of the opportunity and helping them to find a way, okay? So I do present the Family Essentials Kit as well, is a very viable option, and if that is still beyond their budget, taking into account all of the other logistics, then I will present them with some other offerings, okay, which you'll see in just a moment, okay? So make sure that they are very clear on the kit, the delivery, and the customs at minimum, okay? It's really important that they understand that, okay? So these are the present options that I put to people. So I'll say, look, this is the Home Essentials Kit. Of course, the value speaks for itself, okay? So in an ideal world, this would be the kit that you would be able to get started with for all the benefits that we explained on the class. I do show them the Family Essentials Kit, okay, and help them to factor in the duty and the delivery. And I'll say to them, actually, I should just go back a sec. What I say to them is, do you believe that this is viable for you? Are you able to proceed with one of these two options, okay? And then I'll listen to what they have to say, okay? So I initially present this, and then I'll wait and see what their response is, to this offering. Now, remember, I'm communicating with them. I'm not trying to sell them on anything at all. I know they want to be part of doTERRA. I know they're excited to be involved. And I'm just helping to find them a way to be able to do that, okay? So let's say somebody came back and said, can't budget for the Home Essentials Kit, but I want to go for the Family Essentials Kit. Fantastic. But if someone said, I can't budget for that either, then I always turn around and say, is this something that you think you'll be able to budget for anytime soon? Because if they say, oh yeah, I could do that within a week, that's absolutely fantastic. If they turn around and say it's just beyond the budget, it'll be a month, it might be 2 months, or I just cannot afford it, then what I'll do is I'll say to them, look, there are some other options which I want to make you aware of, and it might just help you to be able to get started sooner rather than later, get to experience our wonderful oils. We can add you into our team resources anyway, and we can help you to start and advance the process. It's just that you don't have the same number of oils, but there's nothing holding you back from being able to obviously step forward and start sharing the gift of doTERRA, which of course we will help you with, okay? So I want them now to know that there is an opportunity to get started with either the beginner's trio, which is the lavender, lemon and peppermint, okay, which is in 15 mil. And that comes in UK at 40.75, okay? But remember, this is not an enrollment kit, so you would have to add on the enrollment pack in addition. Okay, now let's say we work out the logistics on that as well. So we add on the extra £28, which I'll come to in a second, which is the enrollment pack part. We work out the rand. We then work out the delivery, which unfortunately is going to be very similar, but the customs will be less, as you'll obviously understand. And you'd only base the customs part on not the enrollment pack part, but just the value of these 3 oils, and you take 20% off. So the customs would be very low, okay? If that's still beyond their budget, when we've given them an overall cost in rand approximately, I would then suggest to them, well, we do have the same trio of oils, but in 5 ml bottles, okay? So you can see what we're doing here is we're kind of bringing it down to the point where it's helping them. And you know what I have found is when you present it like this, if somebody sees the value and they want to get the Family Essentials kit, trust me, they're going to get it. If they really want that Home Essentials kit and they can budget for it, they're going to go for it, okay? So it isn't about you feeling that you're trying to offer someone that something that is really much less. You know, it really isn't. I think we present it, we help them to make the decision that's going to fit their finances because of the logistics that we have to take into account. So this little 5 ml trio, again, that's only 22 quid plus the enrollment. So you can see you're now offering them something, you know, that may be much more viable for them, and it's enabling them to get started. You see, I do not, as a general rule, just want people to get registered and not have any oils, okay? Because I want them to experience the oils. They want to experience the oils. When people have this experience, they fall in love with what it is that we're offering. You don't need to then suggest that they need to get the oils. Trust me, they will want the oils, okay? So that's why I always try to make sure that at very least we're registering somebody with some oils so that they can have the experience, which makes the whole difference. So let's just, you know, look at the final option, really, which I don't really consider it as a real viable option, but would I consider it? Yes. You know, if unfortunately we couldn't get them started on the other options, okay? And that's, of course, just to register them. It means that they're not getting any oils whatsoever. Yes, they're now part of doTERRA, but they don't have any oils, and they really are disadvantaged, okay? But I would register someone who was really keen and really excited, you know, and I'd went through these other options. I would register them on the £28, okay, which works out about, I think it's nearly 500 rand or something like that. I would register them on that. And the reason why I would do it more than anything else is because if you don't recruit them, somebody else will. Because of the activity in South Africa, somebody will mention it, and then they will fail to see, you know, why you wouldn't have mentioned that given their circumstances, okay? So this is kind of how I present it as such, okay? So let's look at what the actual rands are and approximates for each option. So Home Essentials kit is 4495 rand. Family Essentials 2350. The beginner's trio in the 15 mil, that's 1295. And then, of course, we've got option 4, which is 950, which is the 5 mil trio. And then, of course, we have the £28, which is working out at 518 rand. But I don't post the booklet, okay, because they've registered and they don't have any delivery charge if we just register them. But if you want to post that booklet, well, straight away, you've got an additional charge, okay? So basically, that's what I present. And remember that what I'm sharing with you on the screen here does not include shipping and it does not include customs. So let's now presume that somebody does want to go ahead and you've covered all this and they're really, really excited and it's all been clearly set out so they know exactly what to expect. You see, you couldn't miss any of this off because getting them registered on the kit is just part one. And if it gets to your home and then they don't transfer to you the money that you need to book the collection of the kit to take to South Africa, then it isn't moving forward in the process. And so if you talked about the delivery but you failed to mention about the customs, then when it gets to customs and they get a phone call saying, hey, we've got your order, this is the amount of money that needs to be paid, then the bottom line is, that's going to stall as well. So it is all about being very open, very professional, clear and transparent, okay? So the company that we're using here in the UK, which deals with the overall taking of the order over the phone, I like to do it over the phone. It's so much easier when you can speak to someone and they can just do all the things for you. And when you put the phone down, it's all sorted. So we use Transglobal Express. The telephone number is top right, 0345 145 1212. Okay, and I simply ring them up and explain that I want to book a collection to go to South Africa. Okay, and that's exactly what I do, and you can do the same. They will open an account for you, but the first time you ring them, you don't have an account. Okay, and this is kind of some of the things that you're going to be asked. Okay, so I'm going to go through these fairly methodically. So firstly, you've got to, they're going to ask you to specify, what it is you're sending. It's not really enough just to say a home essentials kit or a family essentials kit. You need to specify the contents and the individual values. So if we look at the 10 core oils, you can see what each one of those oils costs, if you like, and then you're going to take 20% off and make sure you take off, obviously, so it's going to come down to, around about £200, something like that, okay? So you're going to have to give a list. I'm sure everyone who gives a list probably has slightly different prices, but really, in an ideal world, it's about 20% off, okay? So make sure you have your list of peppermint is this, lavender is this, On Guard is this, and they'll want to know, 15 ml lavender oil value. Oregano, 15 ml, and the price, etc. So have these already written down and ready so that you can just breeze through that and they will take that over the phone and add that to the list, okay? They're also going to ask you to have the address and the postcode of the person you're sending it to, a contact email and their mobile number. Please, please, please make sure you give them the correct contact number because this is the number that customs is going to ring them on, okay? The next thing is they're going to ask you to confirm the contents of the kit. Okay, I'm duplicating myself there, sorry. So if there is a diffuser in there, you need to obviously put in the diffuser as well. And they're going to want to know what the box dimensions are. Initially, this goes on dimensions and not weight until it gets over a certain point, and then it goes on weight and not dimensions, okay? But typically for the home essentials kit, in fact, you could probably have a home essentials kit and a family essentials kit, and it would pretty much come in at around about the same cost, okay? But they do go on dimensions, so make sure you've got the box measured, okay? That's really, really important. And remember that whether you're sending a trio of oils or a home essentials kit, it's going to be similar price. You might not have the extra insurance on there, of course, because the value will be lower. When you ring Transglobal, okay, there's lots of different services, and initially they might say, oh, you can use this service, or this service. Do not take any other service in the one other than the one that requires DHL to deliver it to its final destination. That's the one that we found is to be really reliable, so don't be tempted by some of the lesser expensive services, okay? DHL is the one that gets it there, okay? Really, really important. Next thing, you also have to assign a cost to the little brochure, if you like, the booklet with the home essentials kit contents in there, okay? And I just apply £1 value to that. I've not been sending the box, like the wooden box. I've not been encouraging them to get a wooden box because I wanted to keep the dimensions down, okay? I didn't want it to exceed a certain size. And I haven't really been encouraging them to get the carrier oil either. I've been suggesting that if they can get some of that local and, then do that, okay? But if they do go for the carrier oil, then don't specify coconut oil on the customs list, okay? Just put it down as carrier oil. As soon as you use the word coconut, okay, it seems to flag up something and it can cause problems, okay? Next thing is make sure that your team member advances you the money for the delivery, okay, either by PayPal or by bank transfer, because when you ring TransGlobal and you're doing all of this, they're going to ask you to make a payment off your card, okay? And, you know, you really need to make sure that, you know, this has already been covered and discussed. They've transferred the money, and now you can go ahead and make the booking, okay? You'll get TransGlobal then emailing you some documents. There's the custom declaration, which is the printout of all of the items that are included that you're sending and the values that you've declared. And that's really just for your reference. There'll also be a collection manifesto, which is for the driver to sign, and you keep, you know, as your proof that he has collected the box, okay? So that's really important. You can also track from your back office, because once you've done this once, they'll send you an email, they'll give you a password, so you can log into your TransGlobal Express back office, okay, and you can go in there and you can track the delivery, and it only takes a few days to get there, but you can see where it's at. For example, you can see it's arrived in South Africa, you can see it's with customs, you can even go on the section where it asks you if you want a text to let you know where it's at. So I even get a little text saying, yeah, it's out for delivery, it's gone through customs clearance, which means that customs has rang your new member, they've told them how much is owed, they've paid the amount, and now it's out for delivery, okay? So you need to let them know that customs will contact them to be able to make that payment before it's delivered. And again, and I need to really reiterate that whilst we expect it to be approximately 20%, they are a loan to themselves and it may be slightly higher, okay? So please do make them aware of that. But once again, if you've communicated the passion, you know, of the excitement of the opportunity, you know, that is with doTERRA, okay, hopefully that's not going to be a problem with them, but you make sure you qualify this in advance, okay? The other thing I want to draw to your attention is this, is that, of course, anyone who wants to share their opportunity with other people in South Africa, they need to have their LRP set up as everybody else does, okay? So we will help them to set up their LRP, but what I have been doing is I've just been making sure that when they register, you know, and we set up the LRP, we set it up for the latest the LRP can process. So if that's the 28th of the following month, we'll set it up for the latest date, because I want to give them as much time as possible to be able to basically share this with some other people who then start on a kit, okay, so that they can get some commissions paid into their AR balance so that they can use these commissions to fund the LRP, okay? And that's the point that I want to make. They can't access the commissions as such, but they could, for example, log in on the 26th when it's due to process on the 28th. They could manually override the 28th automatic process. They could click on that they want to process it now. It would override that, and it gives them the option to tick if they want to use their AR balance to be able to either in part or in full, you know, cover what their LRP template is, okay? So that's what we've been doing to give people a real fighting chance to be able to do that. I guess at the end of the day, because the logistics are what they are, okay, and, you know, and their LRPs due to process, if they haven't shared it with anybody and they don't have any AR balance to be able to use to process their LRP, okay, you could help them to just reduce their LRP down so that when it does process, it only processes for a very small amount, so it's not taking money off their card, or okay, so the full order isn't processing. But I think this shows a real genuine intention to help and support people, you know, with some of the logistics, because their LRP order would have to come to you, they would have additional delivery, additional customs. So now many people in the team are wanting their LRP order to process because they are sharing it with others, or they do want to get other products, and that's fantastic. And you might ask them if you want to hang on to it for a week or, you know, a little bit longer, so that, you know, you can send out maybe 2 LRP orders to them at one go to keep the cost of the delivery out, okay, down. So, you know, there are a few things that you can basically do like that. So that basically gives you a little bit of an idea as to how it's been working. Now, I'm sure by now you're probably thinking to yourself, oh my goodness, the people who are doing really, really well in South Africa, they absolutely deserve a medal for their commitment, their understanding, the additional work involved to be able to do what it is that they are doing. And when you see the success that people are enjoying in South Africa already, bearing in mind it's not an open market, you have to take your hat off to them, okay? But you see, this comes down to, at the end of the day, some people see difficulty and some people see opportunity, okay? So hopefully this has given you a good insight as to what's involved. If you think, oh my goodness, I'm really not ready to make this level of commitment, I'm delighted that this has helped you to be fully aware of what would be required. And if you are ready to make the commitment, well, absolutely fantastic and well done you, okay? And what I will say though is I really do encourage, when people are, registering and going ahead and getting the kit, I want to help them to hit the ground running. And I'm literally saying to them, I want this to be completely self-funding for you. I want you to help to get ahead of the curve. I want to help you to get people into your network, okay? So we're very quick to help them to set up their LRP, very quick to then do a strategy session, hone in on the step-by-step guide, and in particular, right down in on the launch your business on social media, step 6, and reach out to people, step 7. And the whole objective is to get people onto the Zoom. I say to new people joining in South Africa, just get people onto Zooms. Get them onto Zooms, because the more conversations you're having and the more people you get onto Zooms, the more people will go ahead. And I say I want to help them to get people into their network so that we can help them to really get ahead of this curve. So I hope that helps. This is not the definitive video. I may have got the odd thing wrong, okay, but this is what I have been doing. Maybe the odd thing might change, which means that some of the things I've said are, outdated, if you like, in the next week or the next month. But at the time of recording this is what I have been doing. It has been working for me, and I hope that you're getting some value from this. So thanks ever so much, everyone, for your patience, and we'll look forward to celebrating your success in doTERRA.